Hi, I'm Chris Miglino. I am at the EF Hutton Conference in New York City. I am here with Mark Emalfarb.
Yes.
Okay, great. With Dyadic, and Dyadic is in an interesting business. Tell us about Dyadic.
Well, Dyadic is a company that developed a method to stonewash blue jeans, selling pumice stone.
Okay.
Then we developed enzymes that replaced the pumice to make it more environmentally friendly. And then we developed enzymes for animal feed, food, textiles, pulp and paper, licensed the technology to BASF, Shell, and then offloaded it for $75 million to DuPont to enter into the pharmaceutical arena to develop proteins and vaccines and antibodies at enormous quantities at low cost to bring healthcare to people on a global basis. And so that happened in December 31st, 2015. And subsequent last several 6+ years, we've now taken our first vaccine into human beings and showed that the platform can be used safely and effectively to make recombinant protein antigens, not mRNA, a traditional approach where we make it in a tank and then introduce it to your body, kind of like a flu shot, versus your body making it. So, as you know, half the, I think, U.S. population is a little adverse to taking a vaccine, and especially mRNA vaccines after the COVID debacle.
Right.
You know, we were involved in COVID and took a vaccine into humans, but we did it and showed safety and efficacy using a traditional method. And so we can make up to 300 times more vaccines in a shorter time frame than companies like Novavax and Sanofi that use an inefficient way to manufacture. So we took the power of industrial biotech and have now successfully brought it into pharmaceuticals to be able to demonstrate, and have done so now in human beings, safety, efficacy, tolerability, and obviously at high and low dose, had an immunogenic response. So now it's leveraging it, and the doors are open to go into trials for whether it be diabetes, it could be cancer, it could be rheumatoid arthritis, it could be HPV, it could be shingles, all the multi-billion-dollar opportunities that 98% of the world doesn't have access to. We're opening the door up to make it affordable for a global.
So who's your customer in that scenario? Is it the pharma companies themselves? Like, do you partner with the pharma companies to go into each of these areas, or do you try to tackle each of these areas on your own?
Yeah, no, it would be insane to try to tackle these things on our own. So currently we have 2 top 10 pharma companies funding 5 or 6 programs for vaccines that they're interested in using our platform to develop a more efficient way of manufacturing it so that they can improve their margins, but more importantly, access and affordability to not only the U.S. population, the Europe, but also the whole global population. So that's an example where big pharma, we're getting more doors open because of the first phase 1 trial success. In addition, we're working with small biotechs that have no way of doing these things on their own, and they're looking for a new technology that's quicker, faster, and cheaper to get to the clinic, but also that when ultimately you develop something, you have a wider population of patients, and you can afford actually to make things that the world can afford. So I'll give you an example. Recently, mRNA vaccines are like the, I don't know, the good, the bad, or the evil. I'm not quite sure where it lies in the U.S. population.
People probably just don't understand it. They just hear it's bad, and then they think it's bad. They don't understand.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that it's good or bad or indifferent. I'm just saying, for example, you can't build a Rolls-Royce factory in a market that buys Oldsmobiles. And so you can see Moderna was in Kenya, and they just walked out because there wasn't enough volume in the market, uptake, but also the price point. You know, these guys can't pay $20, $30, $40 a vaccine.
Right.
So our technology is like a square peg in a square hole. It fits for those markets. So if we can make things at affordable levels in larger quantities, and I mean billions of doses affordably using our technology, bringing the power of industrial biotech, what we're going to do to biopharmaceutical manufacturing, what Elon Musk did to the car industry. We're transforming it. We're not making marginal improvements. We're taking the power of the chemical industry, biochemistry, Shell Oil, DuPont, BASF, the largest chemical companies on the planet, use our technology, licensed our technology, paid us millions of dollars to get access to it. We used it to make enzymes for feed and food in the past, sold in 35 countries. We've now, our non-compete has ended, so in addition to the pharma world for vaccines and antibodies and things like that, we're now back into the industrial world with a better mousetrap. that's even more productive than what we sold off and used to use to make these industrial products. Things like potentially vegan cheese, cultured meat, alternative proteins, or just enzymes for typical applications like biogas or biofuels. In fact, today, one of our collaborators, Firmbox, announced the co-developed enzyme we made for turning cellulosic biomass into sugars for fuel. So we are not doing anything different. We're doing the same thing, whether it's for pharma, or it's alternative proteins, or it's industrial. We're taking a gene sequence, an amino acid sequence, putting into our hyperproductive cell lines that are scalable and programmable and can be produced large amounts of low-cost proteins, and giving the proteins to our customers. They then evaluate it for their applications. If it looks good, they take it forward, and we can either get a access fee, milestones, and royalties, or we can get a part of the company as equity, like a small biotech company, like Alphazyme. We just got paid $1.2 million last year for a couple percent we own because they couldn't pay an access fee. So as we know already, if Hutton, these guys don't have the cash to pay upfront large volumes where pharma can do that. So we can take, our alternative model is help them out, speed the development, reduce the cost of what they're going to ultimately
take a piece of their
company.
Okay, interesting.
And so if you don't have cash and can't pay the excess fee, you still have the same need. You need to make more for less so that you can actually treat a global population rather than a limited audience. And COVID's a great example, and I'm going to give you we're working on the bird flu vaccine right now. So we were proactively involved in that. We saw a need, potentially, that if this comes to market and starts affecting human beings, let alone chickens and cattle, which we know it's already affecting, it's 1/3 or 30% deadly. It's not 1% like COVID. So this is something that we're going to need massive amounts of low cost. We can't have the same mistakes we made during COVID, right? We couldn't make enough. We couldn't make it fast enough. The world wasn't going to take new technology. So we have a traditional method of making these. We can make billions of doses at very low cost so that we can actually stop the spread and protect human life. So during COVID, there's the antibody, which is a treatment side, because we not only make vaccines, we make antibodies to treat people. So if you get the disease, you need a treatment to eradicate it, right? So during Delta, we couldn't make enough antibodies just to cover the U.S., let alone anywhere in the world. That's a 1% deadly disease. And I have had an actual email from the U.S. Army supply chain that actually said during COVID we couldn't keep up. If it was more lethal, we'd have major problems. Well, guess what? If the bird flu shows up in humans, we got major problems. So Dyadic has been proactive, and if you look up on our website, we've developed a vaccine already that looks very effective, and it covers all the variants right now that are in cattle, the human variant that went in Texas, and a human being, and it looked very effective, and it can be made in massive quantities very, very affordably. So we're looking for partnering that out for both animal health, for the poultry and the cattle, for example, and also for human health, because we believe that it's no longer if, it's a matter of when this is going to happen, and we need to be prepared. We can't be reactive. We got to be proactive.
So what are the KPIs here that investors can watch for this next half of this year?
Well, in the next 90 days, in the next quarter, we're working on something called recombinant human albumin. Albumetics paid $500 million to Sartorius paid $500 million in 2022 to a company called Albumetics. They make recombinant human albumin from a yeast.
Yeah.
We're making it now in a filamentous fungi, our technology, but at much higher levels. So we're already signed a term sheet with a company that we expect to execute the definitive agreement within the next 90 days that'll show one of the largest companies in that space using and adopting this technology to bring that product forward to be able to bring recombinant albumin to, rather than albumin from blood, for example. So just imagine for cattle, which is a bovine serum albumin, if you have it in the blood of cows, can you use it anymore? What can you use it for? What you can't use it for? We're going to make it recombinant. Like we already have cell lines that make that at very high levels. So that's one thing coming out. And then hopefully we get somebody moving the bird flu forward for both animal health and human health. So those are things that are incubating, but the albumin is something that we already signed a term sheet for.
Okay, fantastic. Mark, it was a pleasure talking to you about this today. Watch out for Dyadic. Symbol is
DYAI.
DYAI. And if you start seeing birds dropping out of the sky in your backyard, this is the guy to call to take care of that. But there's no kidding aside, it's just amazing technology here that has a lot of applications across many different industries. So it seems like you have a lot of different potential revenue streams here, and you could really start getting positions in a lot of biotech companies with your technology. So you're essentially, it's kind of like you could be betting on many different biotech companies by investing in yours.
Yeah, well, yes, and also investing in a platform technology that can make thousands of proteins for unlimited applications, both in human health, animal health, and alternative proteins are the three areas we're focused on, but obviously there's proteins that are needed for other things as well. So we sort of, what a customer wants will come to us, give us a sequence. Again, we're not all over the place. It sounds like that. We're taking a gene sequence, putting it into a cell. It happens to be a productive hyper cell that's 30 years in development, mass producing the protein, and then they're taking the application forward. And on a few occasions, like albumin, we're doing it on our own, and then we'll partner it out.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thanks for being here with us today at the Hutton Conference.
Well,
thank you very much. Yeah, of course.
And stay safe.
Thank you.
We're trying to keep it that way.